welcome back to Cosmic Compass. It's me, Helena, here on my Saturn Ascendant line, recording a solo episode to you after grounding back at home the last few days, back in Paris, back home on my Saturn line. Let me tell you, I need to take breaks away from my Saturn Ascendant line to just get a refresh, get a reprieve from the serious, sober, stoic, somewhat heavy energy of the Saturn line. Saturn is all about responsibility, duty, and obligation. And I often feel like I have a lot of weight and pressure on my shoulders. And I've always felt this since I moved to France, back in 2018. There's been this sense of time and, a feeling of I need to work, I need to show up, I need to do the work, I need to work hard for what I do. And this energy of labor is definitely a feeling that I experience living so close to my Saturn line, and I've always felt. And as a result, I love taking trips away from the Saturn line to just get some joyful ebullience, the Jupiter line, get some solar energy from my sun line. And after going to my sun ascendant line in Dubai, having a whirlwind experience, having a very productive and enjoyable trip. I see a lot of content on social media of like, don't live on your Saturn line, avoid the Saturn line. I see, accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers and hundreds of thousands of views on these videos. And I'm just like, oh, if only you knew that you have to look at the aspects, right? You have to look at the chart to understand more about your Saturn line. It's not just this black or white, avoid your Saturn lines, right? And I talk about this in my course, the locational astrology course, about how aspects and planetary condition is so important and how, my Saturn is enclosed by the benefics, by Jupiter and Venus on either side of Saturn. And so I have this nice protection and this help with my Saturn line. And so I am really happy to be back home. All this to say, this kind of rant aside, I'm really happy to be back home. I'm really happy to be back in my routines. I feel so grounded here. And I feel like this is a place where I really get my best work done on my Saturn line more than any place else. There's other astrocartography lines that I love to go to for different things, but the Saturn line, I love getting good work done on this line. So I'm back home, and I just wanted to record a little recap solo episode with you. I am gearing up for season 3 of the podcast. We're doing a rebrand. We're doing a relaunch. We have a whole series of solo episodes going forward for season 3. Season 2 was all about the interview series and interviewing other astrologers on the show and hearing astrocartography stories from other people. And going forward in season 3, I polled my audience on Instagram and I asked you guys, what do you want to see, next? And it was overwhelming. It was like 87% of my audience wanted solo episodes from me. And I've been wanting to do more solo episodes. Okay, this is a confirmation from the universe that my gut and my intuitive sense about what I'm feeling led and called to do next, I'm on the right path. I'm on the right track. And so I'm gearing up for season 3. You guys will hear a lot of solo episodes from me going forward. And we're going to be doing a revamp of, a whole new series with astrocartography and astrology. And each series will be going deep on a topic like relocation charts or astrocartography maps or local space. And I'm really excited to share all of that with you. Mercury retrogrades are so incredibly helpful for this slowdown, this fine tuning of what you want to do. And I know a lot of people fear Mercury retrogrades, and absolutely, I've had an awful one. Like this Mercury retrograde has been so challenging. The amount of legal things I'm dealing with behind the scenes that I've not talked about publicly. It's been a lot behind the scenes with Mars transiting my lot of necessity in my solar return chart, with transiting Saturn and Aries squaring my lot of necessity in my 9th house in Cancer. There's just been a lot behind the scenes that I haven't been sharing. And I've had to deal with a lot this year. And I want to do a whole episode just on solar returns because everything about this year has manifested from my solar return chart. And it's been an crazy year. It's been a very successful year, but a really intense emotional one behind the scenes. And I want to share with you the astrology in an episode because I am getting ready for a new solar return chart in a few months. By the way, if you're tuning in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening wherever you get your podcast episodes. This one I will be posting on YouTube so that those of you on YouTube can see the video version, but I am going to be scaling back dramatically from posting all my podcast episodes on YouTube. Majority of them will not be posted here. So if you are listening to the YouTube version of this, make sure that you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcast downloads, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. I'll include a link down below so you can subscribe so you don't miss any episodes going forward from me. But this is a fascinating time to be alive as an astrologer. I said this a year ago that, we're entering world historic times, and there's never been a more exciting time to learn astrology than right now because we are watching history unfold. Earlier last summer, Uranus entered Gemini, and we got the first sneak preview of what we're stepping into. And that was the moment that the US attacked Iran. And I made a reel about it on Instagram right as soon as that happened because I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how quickly the manifestation of the astrological configurations happened. Like, I couldn't believe how fast it was. Astrology is magical and spooky at the same time. And astrology has repeatedly reinforced to me that you cannot get this wrong. You cannot make a mistake. You cannot avoid your fate. You can't mess it up. What's going to happen is going to happen. And there's no point. There's no use in living in fear or worrying or stressing out about the future. And I tell you this as someone who has worried about my future, the future for the collective for many years now. I first saw a transit in my own life for 2036, 2037. What was it, 4 or 5 years ago? I saw this transit and it sent me down a rabbit hole of looking at my zodiac releasing, looking at my progressions, looking at primary directions, looking at my solar return chart, looking at every single timing technique I could think of to see if it was a repetition of what I was seeing in the transits. And it was. On every single timing technique, I've seen the same thing happen. And for a long time, for several years after that, I was always thinking about death and illness and time and the fear of time. And of course, it doesn't help that I live on my Saturn ascendant line. But over the years, that fear washed away. Because one, I realized I know astrology. I can work through that by knowing it in advance, right? Like if you see a hard transit for illness or health a year before, okay, I'm going to move to a place where my health is not going through as challenging of a time using astrocartography, right? I am going to make sure I have a doctor that I really trust. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing regular checkups and getting multiple opinions on things before this transit occurs, right? Like astrology can save your life. Astrology, by knowing it, can help you lessen difficult times. I'm going through some challenging transits July 4th, which is the prediction that I've been making for a long time about how I'm really nervous about the United States and what's happening to the United States the first week of July. And I myself am going through really, really hard transits during that time. So the Mars-Uranus conjunction is squaring my Chiron exactly by degree. Mercury retrograde will be in Cancer, and it's squaring my natal Mars, which is my worst planet in my chart, and it's the ruler of my physical body. It's squaring it exactly by degree. And I saw this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. Or like how in March 2027, there's a Mars retrograde in Leo, conjunct Jupiter retrograde in Leo, conjunct the South Node, going right over my midheaven. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is scary. I say all this because I could, as an astrologer, look ahead at the future and worry. And it's okay to have those moments. It's okay to have, that's human. That's part of being a human being, is to feel the full depth of your feelings and your emotions. But once you feel it, you can decide to change your perspective, to recognize that you have the power to change or to mitigate or to lessen the challenge of it. I'll give you an example. We're all going to be experiencing this collective transit together. March of 2027. The Mars retrograde, which is often fires or just like warlike tendencies, challenges in regarding action, drive, anger. And that'll be happening in late degrees of Leo. So if you have any Leo placements or placements in fixed degrees Leo, late degree Leo. That Mars retrograde conjunct Jupiter is making it way bigger. It's like a massive letting go, a massive decrease of something. And the South Node is just exacerbating it. As an astrologer, Mars is going to be direct going through that sector of the chart in November of 2026. So what is happening November 2026? What are you doing at that time? What are you making? What are you saying? What are you doing? What's happening in your life? What house do you have Leo in? What is happening in regards to that area of life in November of 2026? By knowing and being aware and observant and watching what is happening in our lives, we can foreshadow what is happening in March of 2027. This is astrology. It's like when we're looking at a zodiac releasing period, for instance, and we're in a Pisces period. And we see that the last time we were in a Pisces period in our zodiac releasing, we had the themes of this coming up. Like maybe those were years where you had to work really hard. And you're in a Pisces year now, and this is also a year where themes of working hard are coming up. I had a client last night, and we did a zodiac releasing and a transit call for the year ahead. And we were looking at 2028 because I was telling her, like, she's going to have massive things. She's going to have the North Node on her MC. She's going to be in a major peak with a loosing of the bond on a level 2 in her zodiac releasing. And for any of you curious about learning how to read your own biography of your life, you can always enroll in my Trust Your Timeline course. So you can join in and start learning this as soon as possible if you are feeling the call to learn this timing technique. That's incredibly advanced timing technique, along with transits and progressions. And I teach a lot in that course. So I'll include the link down below. But we were looking at 2028 for her. And I noticed that, oh, this is a loosing of the bond. And you had a foreshadowing period during this year, which is also Capricorn in her zodiac releasing. And I asked her, I said, what was going on in your life during that year? And we went through a couple things, and I noticed that she had Capricorn in her 9th whole sign house in her chart. And I asked her, I said, were you traveling a lot that year? Were you abroad? Were you involved in some sort of study or education, a certification program? And she works in law. And of course, the 9th house, I'm like, okay, well, there we go. She was doing law. She was doing a lot of international travel. And so when we looked ahead at 2028 and we saw the transits going through the 9th house for her, the North Node increase going into the 9th house, seeing that it was a Capricorn period, and then it was hinted by what was happening for her back when she was in the last Capricorn period. Similar themes are coming up for her. This is how we make predictions. And when we think about astrology, what it is it's showing us that what is happening on Earth. What are people thinking? What are people feeling? What are people doing? It gives us an incredible amount of insight to understand where people are at, how we can support them. As a business owner, I look at the chart of a moment to determine my launches. I use electional astrology to determine my best launches for success, to ensure I have more success instead of spinning my wheels and working harder. But I also use astrology as a tool for understanding, like, where are people's headspaces at? What are people needing right now? What are people wanting right now? I don't need to poll my audience. I know just by looking at the astrology. I know what the collective is wanting right now based on looking at the astrology. And this is why I think every business owner should know astrology, because you are getting insight as to where the collective and the people are at. What are people thinking about? What are people feeling? I wait until the collective is in a good headspace for that, right? I'm not going to launch something, for instance, right now when Mercury is retrograde conjunct Mars on the North Node. That just looks like I'm provoking something, right? That just doesn't look fun. People are angry. People are upset about something. I'm not going to launch an offer during a specific week when the energy is intense, right? And so this is why, as business owners, we should really be using astrology to plan our lives and our calendars and our business launches. But going back to the idea of cycles, this Mercury retrograde, I went down a rabbit hole of looking at my past. And I was thinking about an ex that I haven't thought about in a long time. He came up in my dream for some reason. I haven't thought about him in years, so long. And he popped up in my dream and I woke up like confused, like I haven't thought about that person in a long time. And I looked at the astrology for the moment and it was, Mercury retrograde in Pisces. And I was like, okay, when was the last time I talked to this guy? And so I looked at the astrology for the last time I contacted him or the last time we were in contact. And it was during a Mercury retrograde in Pisces. That was when we sent our last text to each other. That is crazy. That is weird. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, this is insane. Now, I'm not connecting with this person at all. It's been so long. It's been so many years, and I just have no interest in connection or communication at all. But I thought it was interesting. Like the universe sent me this dream or this message, and then I checked the astrology for now versus the last time I spoke to this person, and it was the same Mercury retrograde in Pisces. And by the way, it was at the same degrees. It was at this like 11 to 15 degree marker was when we last spoke. And by the way, this was over 14 years ago. This is a long time ago, right? 13 years ago. So I share this because this is what I'm talking about. This is what astrology is. It's cycles. And so thinking about the future, Uranus and Gemini, the fact that the US attacked Iran during the beginning of Uranus and Gemini, and Uranus and Gemini is going to be firmly into place for the next 7 years, starting this July of 2026. I'm concerned, right? All astrologers are concerned. So many astrologers, we've all been talking about this for years, that the US would be involved in a war starting this year, and that Iran in particular is really lit up. I'm still concerned about Russia and China, by the way. And this is just due to the geodetic map, but also Donald Trump's chart and his astrocartography. His Mars lines are all going through these parts of the world. And Jim Lewis, the founder of astrocartography, has written about how presidents where they have Mars lines, and when the country is involved in war, the president's Mars lines are often going through the countries where there is conflict. And so, that's going through a lot of different spots in the US, but one of them is this area. And I think it's going through for Donald Trump, Ukraine as well, which I thought was really, really interesting. I already made one video on Donald Trump's astrocartography map. It's on my YouTube channel. I'll include it here if you're interested in learning about it. But all this to say, we had a foreshadowing of Uranus and Gemini already last summer. I'm concerned. I'm not making a firm prediction because with the moon on the midheaven, the moon in astrology is about projection. People who have Libra rising or Scorpio rising, because your 10th house is connected to Cancer or Leo, the luminaries, there's a lot of projection with luminaries, whether the sun's on the midheaven in your chart, the moon's on the midheaven in your chart, or you have Leo or Cancer in your 10th house. So you'd be a Scorpio rising or a Libra rising. I find there's a lot of projection and pedestaling and just the mirroring effect with people. And so with your audience. And so I am very cautious about everything I say, more so in terms of predictions, because I find that if I'm slightly wrong by a minute on anything, I get so many people just attacking me and blaming me and projecting ill things onto me. And I'm just not standing for it anymore. I block 20 people a day right now. I'm blocking 20 people a day on my Instagram because I'm just done. Like I am so done with the lunacy. I'm also very liberal about the block button, and I think we all need to be as leaders. If you're a business owner, if you're someone who's a public figure, you've got to get comfortable with that block button. Make it your best friend. I swear it'll help keep you sane as you're posting every day and sharing your life. And I think we've got to stop seeing astrologers as like psychics, and even taking the pedestal down with psychics and like people who make world predictions based on their channel on YouTube. It's like, why are we giving them our power? Why are we as humans giving our power away to astrologers and psychics for foreseeing the future? We can foresee the future. We know our future. But it's a matter of trusting ourselves and also knowing astrology. You know, for me, astrology is my tool because I like the data. I want the practical, factual information. My Mercury in Gemini needs the proof in the pudding to make a prediction. But even still, even if you don't know astrology and you don't know the technicality behind it all, you can trust your inner knowing. When you sense something, you could just trust in that. And your body will tell you, your gut will tell you, your knowingness will tell you. The only thing getting in the way is you trusting in it or thinking that it's something weird. So many people just discount their intuition because they think it's something like that's not them. But it is you. You are connected to the light. You are connected to something mystical and magical, and that's within you. You know, I believe that we're all God energy. We all have God within us. And it's just about trusting in that and developing that trust muscle so that you can really lean on it all the time. And it doesn't feel fearful. And that's the issue that I've had and that I've kind of woken up to on my Sun astrocartography line recently in Dubai is I've realized that a lot of the content I've been making has been kind of fear-mongering. I don't know. I asked my friends, and a lot of my friends have told me that I'm not, they've never seen me as that way, as the fear-mongery kind of person. But I just want to inspire love. I want to inspire light. I want to be a safe place for people. I want my content, my social media, my podcast to be a place that you can come to tap back into yourself. I don't want to be that astrologer that gives doomsday predictions. I don't want to be that astrologer or that psychic person that like shares what I think the future is going to be. I can show the maps, but I'm not interested in spreading fear because there's nothing we can do about the things that are happening outside of us anyway. We can decide what we're going to do. For instance, if we have a Uranus line going through our area, like let's say we live on a Uranus IC line, which by the way, I had 2 clients yesterday. It was a family, a group of 3 people, and 2 of them had Uranus lines going right through California and Los Angeles. And they were being affected by the Mars-Uranus stuff in their charts. And I was like, so what are you guys thinking about doing? And they're like, we want to leave LA. And I'm like, awesome. Let's get you out of LA. And they were like, we want to go in the spring. I'm like, perfect. Let's get you out of there before July. I'm loving this. I'm loving that your psychic download, what you're feeling intuitively. And this client that I was working with, she's very intuitive, very psychic. She's very trusting of herself. And I love when I have clients like that. And I have a lot of clients that are very intuitive women, psychic women. And I love that like they come to me. I just look at the data and the facts. I'm not giving them intuitive anything. I'm just telling them what I see in the chart. And when they come to me and they're sensing something and then I see it affecting their transits and their charts and their maps, I'm like, ding, ding, ding. You had a good hunch. And I think it's good that you follow that. But I don't tell people to run away out of fear. I'm always giving the power back to my clients. And this is something I tell my students all the time in my certification program and my locational astrology course is like, you give the data and the information to your clients. You give them the options. Here are some great options for you. If you want to do this, you can. I would be more cautious about this area. If it were me, I would be looking at these 2 to 3 areas, right? But you're still always giving the power back to the client to decide what they want to do. And that's something that I'm always, I hope that at the end of my life, people remember me for encouraging people to trust themselves and to listen to their intuition and to not give their power away. And that's why I'm inspired to revamp the podcast and relaunch the YouTube channel for season 3, which is empowered astrology. Astrology meets self-mastery. Why you can literally change your life by changing your location, yes. If you want to get your life to thrive more, if you want to feel like you're having more ease in your life, okay, let's look into moving. Let's change your location for sure. And let's not live in fear. Let's remain empowered as astrologers. That's something that I am during the Saturn Neptune, conjunction in Aries. This has really come up for me. It's like, this is what I'm going and this is what I'm doing. And when I was in Dubai, the reason I went out there was for this business conference that I attended that I was so excited for. But also, I did like 3 days worth of content for all of 2026. I have all my photos, my videos, these short films that I had made by a creative director and her team for all my launches for 2026. And like this new massive program, this world that I'm building for Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. And I got all of the assets for that, the photos, the videos, the podcast, episodes, the reels. It's like we got it all done in 3 days. And I'm so glad I went to Dubai because I'm like, I got the best content. You can't get better podcast studios than in Dubai. Let me tell you guys, Dubai is the place for the best podcast studios. The best photographers and videographers are living there. Like that is where so many creatives from around the world are going there. And so my coach lives there and we do VIP days as part of our coaching program and coaching, work. And as I'm talking, I'm looking up at the clouds that are right outside my window and this big white fluffy cloud is passing by. And in the middle of this white fluffy cloud it's a dark cloud that's in the middle of it, and it's shaped like a crescent moon. It's shaped like a crescent moon through the white cloud. And I'm just like, wow, that is magical. And that just kind of goes back to my earlier point of going forward. You can expect from me for lunar energy to be interwoven throughout all of my work. This is a safe space. This is an inspiring place. This is a place where you can feel hope and connect with your inner confidence and your light and your audacity, your authenticity. This energy is what I'm deciding. The power of decision is a magnetic one. When you just get up one day and say, I'm doing this now. I'm done with this. I'm stepping into this. It's done. It's decided. Let's go. I owe it to myself to be all in. I owe it to myself to commit and go 100%. And I hope that you think about that going forward as we finish up this Mercury retrograde and we get deeper into some pretty intense astrology in April. Mars is going to enter Aries. So it's like we're really going to be feeling the fire and the drive. And there's going to be a new moon in the middle of the month in Aries. And it's like this big warrior, like new beginning. I hope that right now you allow yourself to sit with this decision you're making, to decide, to contemplate, to journal, to reflect, to get ready for this new era, because we're in it now, but it's going to really feel like we're in it when we get into April with all this Aries energy in full force with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Aries is the first zodiac sign. Aries is youth. Aries is the young one. Aries is the new generation, the next generation, the fresh first seeds being planted. And so I hope you use astrology as a tool for self-betterment, self-improvement, self-mastery, instead of living in fear. Because I can tell you, as someone who, looks at the astrology ahead for the United States, for the world, I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't very concerned. And I was talking to a friend yesterday on Instagram DMs, and we were talking about how we both feel like we all collectively can sense something's coming, like something's brewing. And a lot of you guys may feel doomsday about it. I'm not. I don't feel doomsday about any of this. I think some people are worried it's going to be nuclear war or like a nuclear attack. I personally don't feel that at all. I think this is just going to be a war that the US is in, and it might start involving other countries. I can acknowledge the fear and choose to remain anchored in myself, to know the astrology, to learn astrology as a tool, to know how to ride waves, how to use the energy in the current moment to the best that I can. Like even yesterday, Mercury was squaring my natal Mercury by degree. And I didn't check the astrology that morning because I don't know, I've been busy with clients. I'm looking at so many other people's charts. I'm not really looking at my own. And if I had remembered the astrology for that day, I would not have made a piece of content that I did. Mercury being my Time Lord this year, I should not have messed with that Mercury square. Mercury retrograde squaring my natal Mercury. And so this is an example of like my own mistake, and how if you know astrology and you are reminded of your own astrology and not ignoring it or not forgetting to look at it, it's like you could see, oh, Mercury retrograde is squaring my natal Mercury right now. Maybe I shouldn't just get on a random live stream and just start talking about something, like maybe that's the moment to pause with intention before speaking. Astrology is an incredible tool for understanding what is best for you to do if you remember to use it. And we can use astrology for understanding our cycles in our lives, for understanding, interesting, I'm going through this hard time right now in my transits. When was the last time I experienced this transit? Oh, I experienced this during that time when I was also going through a similar theme of challenge. I've been going through, as I mentioned earlier, I've been going through some challenges with legal stuff and just feeling these old fears that I've had similar experiences with when I was in my late teens. And then I experienced this once when I was 16 years old. I experienced this theme. It's noticing, interesting, I'm going through similar transits as I was when back then. It shows you're going through similar lessons and soul stories and cycles and patterns, and you will get out of it. You will get to the other side of it. But is there something that you can learn from? Is there something you can learn from this? Is there something that maybe you didn't fully master that lesson, that soul lesson before, that now you have an opportunity to be a higher person and to really learn and master and integrate that now? The opportunity is here. The opportunity is available to you. Are you going to take it and be aware? Or are you just going to sweep it under the rug and pretend it doesn't exist? Numb yourself out, scroll, avoid what's happening, avoid the hard conversations, the hard lessons. And this is something I myself am experiencing right now. And I was in the thick of it last week, but I still feel like I'm coming out of it I've been through this experience before when I was 16 and 17. And I've had similar transits then as I'm having now. Isn't that interesting? Let's learn from this Saturn. Let's learn from the lot of necessity. Let's learn from what Saturn is teaching us. As Anne Ortley, one of my favorite astrologers, always says, do your Saturn. And I love that quote. And I always say it. I always love to honor Anne Ortley, one of my favorite astrologers, because when you do your Saturn, when you honor what Saturn's lessons are to teach you, you can become a wiser, more mature person that has that experienced wisdom that you've learned through life experience. So I encourage you today to look back at your cycles. If you're going through something, if you're going through a challenge, or maybe you're going through a euphoric, amazing time in your life, when was the last time you experienced this transit? When was the last time you went through a similar theme, whether it's in your periods and zodiacal releasing? Maybe you're in a Capricorn period or you're in a Sagittarius period, and the last time you were in a Sagittarius period, you had a similar theme come up that year, right? Or maybe you're going through Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Look at the last time Mercury retrograde was in Pisces, right? What was happening then for you? This is the power of astrology. And when we consciously choose, I am using this as a tool, and I'm not going to live in fear of it. And I'm going to use it for self-betterment and mastery rather than worrying and fretting about the future. And I'm going to get there when I'm meant to get there. And what's going to happen is meant to happen. And I can mitigate and decrease the problems that may occur in the future because I know it's coming years before. And I know the action steps, the practical things I can do before then to ensure there's not a challenge, right? This is how I use astrology. And as an example, this July 4th transit that's happening, and I'm concerned about with the US and all of that, it's hitting my chart and me physically in a very difficult way. The Mars Uranus is squaring my Chiron. I'm not going to lie. When I saw this, I was like very, very nervous about this because every time I have squares to my Chiron, like Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius earlier this year, it was squaring my Chiron. If something's meant to happen, it's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about avoiding my fate and what my soul came here to experience. And at the same time, I can choose not to be traveling that week. I can choose to be at home grounded and safe in my home in my small town. I can choose to take care of myself. I can choose maybe to be off social media that week. I can maybe choose to just really build my nervous system now so that I'm ready for whatever challenge is coming up later. I can choose to connect with family and friends that week, and maybe I'm with a friend that week. Maybe I'm putting up better boundaries in my life now so that I feel prepared and equipped for whatever challenges then. I can prepare my mom to be in a safe space in California if, something's going on with her, and I can inform my family and friends about, just don't go to parades, don't go to big concerts, don't go to large, massive city events that first week of July, right? Like these are practical things that we can know with caution and no fear, but just caution. We're aware. We're using astrology with intention for self-betterment and self-mastery. And so I'm going to be teaching a workshop on this, by the way, called Astro Travel with Intention. I'll include the waitlist down below. I'm so excited to show this workshop with you. It's going to be incredible. There's going to be a whole workshop on transits and timing your travels so that you can practically plan your life. But also there's going to be a section on geodetic astrology, which is understanding world mapping and like world collective themes that are happening in the world, and how to incorporate that in your own astrocartography practice. And so if this is something that you're interested in, the lowest price it'll ever be, it's going to be $97 for a 2.5-hour workshop. It's going to be really great. I'm going to be releasing it very soon once Mercury stations. We need to get out of this horrible astrology first. But I'll be releasing it very soon on March 26th during the Moon-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer. And if you want to just stay up to date and make sure that you're aware of when it opens and before the early bird special closes, make sure you sign up to that list down below. I'll include a link so that you can come join me live and learn with our amazing community. And fingers crossed, I have a meeting with an astrologer tomorrow morning, but I'm really hoping I can get this geodetic astrology expert to also teach in the workshop. So fingers crossed we'll get her in. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I just wanted to give a little personal update, being very grounded here on my Saturn line and feeling really reflective about the power of astrology and cycles. Astrology is pattern synthesis. And those of us who are really good at pattern recognition or noticing patterns, we often make great astrologers, or at least astrology comes very easy to us because we're good at noticing and recognizing patterns. And so if you too are obsessed with patterns and like understanding cycles, I hope that this supported you and inspired you to go deeper into your astrology practice. My Trust Your Timeline course is open. You can check out the link down below in the description. And I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. I'm really excited for season 3, for just a new rebrand, a new refresh. There's something in the air right now, and I think we can feel this new beginning that's all starting for us. It feels really exciting. And while the collective astrology can be really hard with what's going on, I also personally feel that more leaders are going to come out of this than ever before. Specifically leaders that are really connected to their heart and their courage and their purity of heart, their compassion, their empathy. We're going to have more spiritual healers, practitioners, energetic clearing healers. Like so many people are going to come out of this time right now. And if you two are feeling that call and you're feeling ready to lead, ready to show up, ready to be seen, ready to support and lead others during these hard times, I encourage you to get up and go, because we need all hands on deck. We need more astrocartographers. We need more astrologers. We need more of you shining and bringing this information to the hands of more people. I always feel every time that the US, or the world, I'm sorry, the whole world is going through something, I always find that my motivation increases. Like, I want to post a podcast. I want to show up on Instagram. I want to make a YouTube channel. Like, when COVID happened, I went into the Akashic Records and I was guided to make a YouTube channel about slow living to help people slow down and connect with their intuition. And it was the same with astrocartography. And I've noticed that every time something big happens in the world, I feel my light being called to lead and to support others. Whether it's opening up my calendar for more bookings, helping people get in for emergency readings, making more content to support people, making free meditations, journals, ebooks. Like, there's so many things that we can do to support people. And I hope that in you listening to this, you feel ready. You feel the call to show up and be of service for others too, because we need you. And I'll forever encourage and support fellow leaders, fellow heart-led, compassionate souls to be of service to the world. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode here on Cosmic Compass. Have a magical day.